looking forward to this. So please, please, please give us a very Fintech South, Lord, loud, warm welcome to Sean Neville and Anil Tadurian.
I was telling Sean that I was here on Saturday for a comedian and Sunday for a concert, so I feel pretty much at home coming in here. So it's a
I won't be as funny or as musical, but yeah.
Good. Let's jump right in and tell us a little bit. I mean, you've had an amazing career.
Thank you.
A really, really good career. I'm not sure if your microphone is on.
Is this on? Can you hear me?
Good. Great.
Yeah, good.
So take us through it. Tell us a little bit about Circle. In particular, you met Jeremy Allaire and the whole process. I think I heard you once say it took about 10, 15 years. It must have been an amazing journey. Just take us through the whole journey.
Well, I first got into blockchain technology, Bitcoin specifically, around 2012, which was the same time that Jeremy, my co-founder at Circle, did. We founded the company in 2013. We'd actually known each other for quite some time. Previous background, my background is in engineering. We were both sort of obsessed with this idea of making money run over the internet. And we thought blockchain technology was an interesting sort of piece in the tech stack to make that happen, not necessarily Bitcoin specifically, but the technology. And our previous companies were really at the advent of the web. So we built technologies, wrote languages, server products that helped take content and make it more easily accessible all over the world. Basically wanted to do the same thing for money, make it global, programmable, not stop at borders, cost practically nothing to deliver while still being fully compliant with all the rules and regulations in which it operates. And so that was the fundamental vision for Circle. We started it in 2013. It's now been 12 years, entered the public markets this year, created US dollar coin in 2017, which was a little closer to the vision of taking a dollar and making it digital, making it run over the internet rails.
And it's a phenomenal story. The IPO was in June. I think you were out about $31 a share, and now it's what, 150 or so. So it's a good story, really amazing story. So in 2019, you decided to come off of the day-to-day execution in Circle and start Catena Labs. So tell us, what is Catena all about? What is it? What's the mission? What is it intending to do? And why Catena?
Yeah, so I left the board and I left the company in the management position in 2020, stayed on the board, so I often feel like I have a part-time job still in the company I founded, but in as much as we saw the dollar going internet native, I started to gain conviction around the web itself and the internet going agent native. And Catena is the outcome of that focus on AI orchestrations, agents if you want to use that term, and financial flows. And so we're focused on making it safe and trustworthy to execute commerce using agents, and then ultimately building an AI-native financial institution on top of that foundation.
So tell me what that does in plain English. What is it a B2B payments kind of application, or is it more than that?
Well, first we're starting with what even is an AI actor or agent. And the joke in AI is that no one can agree on a definition. Right. And so people say agentic, which is almost like agent-ish, without getting into the debate. But I think it's the important thing that is missing is really this foundation of how do we identify AI actors? How do we verify that they are who we think they are? How do we become trustworthy if we're using our own AI actors? And that's necessary in order to create policies that then unlock commerce. And so we're starting with that foundation for everyone who is building in AI. And our intent is that it's built on open standards, just like the internet. No one owns HTTP. No one owns DNS. No one owns the concept of SSL, the foundation of e-commerce. And so similarly, when we think about e-commerce, we want these foundations to be interoperable and not siloed in a vendor-specific solution. So we started there. And then on top of that, once we have that foundation in place, clear that trustworthy hurdle, then we'll be able to launch the financial institution side.
So it's really the technology is now available for you to be able to do this, right? That's a fundamental shift that's been going on that you're taking advantage of.
That's right.
Good.
It's I think one way to think of it is an evolution of workflows, a new kind of workflow in which all of the parts don't have to be predefined at the outset, but can be dynamically created based on state and conditions, and a way of connecting one workflow to another very dynamically. And so that's one way to think of agent-to-agent interaction.
So one of the things I've heard you say is that banks just don't have the infrastructure or the technology to handle this in there, and I can vouch for that. When I was the CIO at SunTrust, the commercial payment side was particularly difficult, and in terms of getting the software needed and the capabilities needed, it was just a pain. The processes were painful, the technologies were painful. But when you say that, what did you have in mind in terms of banks are just not ready for this from an infrastructure standpoint?
I think that banks and financial institutions that operate on traditional rails are capable, but they're just unprepared for what's coming. I think of this as a complete change in the web, to the degree that there are millions of people in the world who just sort of skipped the laptop and desktop generation and first encountered the internet on mobile devices. I think we'll see people who encounter the internet first through agents and AI. It's just a huge shift that's occurring. And so what does that mean for something like a financial institution or a payment processor? Well, for one thing, the entire risk system is mostly designed to make sure bots are excluded, because they're all bad. They're not KYC'd or KYB'd entities. We don't have a concept of KYA yet, know your agent. And we don't know all the security vectors that emerge when the only actors that are executing transactions are agents and not directly a KYC'd individual consumer in the retail case. And so I think there's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be put in place, and that's the piece that I think of as particularly an area where banks are maybe unprepared. And then there's the payment rails themselves. Simply attaching an AI actor or workflow onto legacy rails that are designed not for AI actors leads to errors and other issues. And so this is where the usage of things like stablecoins come in, which we think of stablecoins as sort of machine native money, quite well fitted to AI actors. And so there's also a lack of preparedness in certain cases for just stablecoin infrastructure as well.
Yeah, so going back a little bit to your you're still on the board, so I shouldn't say old job, but the stablecoin, we just had the Genius Act pass. Tell us a little bit about what that means in terms of, what is it really providing us? Is that really going to drive up? I worry about the adoption, right, in terms of stablecoin. It's a great idea, but is it really taking off? Is there lots of people using it? So tell us about Genius Act, and is it going to drum up adoption?
So the Genius Act was recently passed. I think it's changed things dramatically, because one of the clear hurdles for stablecoin adoption, say outside of crypto capital markets use cases, has been the lack of regulatory clarity, specifically in the United States. It was unclear if you issued a digital dollar, how are you meant to manage your reserves? What if there was a run on the bank? What are the liquidity provisions? And it was unclear if these things were mutual funds or if they were truly payment dollars. And a lot of that has been completely clarified by the Genius Act. And most successful, maybe only bipartisan piece of legislation and so far that we've seen in this particular era. But I think it will, when people do the risk-reward analysis of adopting stablecoins, we'll see people who are leaning in because the risk is clarified, and that's been missing for years.
So did I hear you kind of allude to in what you're doing right now with Catena, the whole stablecoin is now going to replace the payment rails, right? The old traditional payment rails that sit in the back. Now that you have stablecoin, that's a whole new rail. There's a whole new capability there, right? Is that what you're working towards with Catena Labs? Is kind of leverage stablecoin in addition to, and not really use the old antiquated rails.
So generally, when AI agents are paying for access to resources or content, data, or paying other AIs, it makes sense to have immediate, fast, global, programmable money for them to leverage. So it's just it's a nice fit. We don't necessarily use stablecoins for everything. We can also have AI actors issue virtual cards and make payments through card networks. We can have agents execute tools or APIs that are connected to ACH and wire execution. But as we move into more of an AI native web, the thesis is that we need global, borderless, safe, very, very low fee representations of dollars and other currencies as well. I mean, generally when we talk about stablecoins today, we mean digital dollars. but other currencies will also emerge. It'll be stablecoins.
Which is important when it comes to, payments, currency conversion. I mean, the whole treasury management piece is another piece altogether, but payments in and out, right? So the currency piece is going to be a key piece in terms of hopefully stablecoin is going to be useful, but you're going to have to find other currencies to do it.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And I don't know if we keep calling these things stablecoins. At some point, it's just money running on a different rail. But for now, it's a useful name to put on it.
So given that, so now, you're talking about agent-to-agent payments. How do you think that's going to evolve? And maybe you kind of switch the question a little bit. I think about the human-AI interface as being a critical interface in terms of our ability as humans to trust the AI agent. And there's a certain amount of delegation of authority that we're giving to the agent, and that's all based on trust, right? So in where you are, where do you think we are in the spectrum of trust of agents so far? Or, whenever I talk to people, they talk about AI implementations, they're talking about, human in the loop. There's always a human in the loop. Are we, in a scale of 1 to 10, are we still in the early stages of trust?
Yeah, whether it's human in the loop or AI in the loop, the lines are getting blurred. I think of it in terms of crawl, walk, run to some degree, and it's almost easier to see the run state. What might happen in 5 to 10, 15 to 20 years. It's almost easier to see that than the walk state, or particularly the transition between crawl and walk, which is where I think we are in certain domains now. Certain domains have, I think, accelerated into the walk stage faster than others. Software engineering has been completely transformed, for instance. But when it comes to AI actors executing things like commerce, payment, even simple payment flows, before we get to treasury management and effects and everything else, very much in the crawl stage. And the transition from crawl, I think, should not take 4 years. Should be escalated to the walk stage, but it's through clearing these trust hurdles. That is the most important hurdle to clear. Some of that involves new tech. What happens when guardrails are exceeded? Who's liable for a payment gone sideways? And how is it audited? Observability is a big issue in AI, but even beyond that, how do we audit what a series of AI actors actually did? How do we do lookbacks and police for AML? If we're filing SARs on AI activity? All this is sort of like unknown at these stages, and all of these things are part and parcel to developing trust.
So how much of your job now is talking to regulators to educate them? Because I think regulators also need to catch up, as it were, with this, or at least believe or have the trust and have all that observability and so on done, right?
Yeah.
So do you spend a lot of time? Are the regulators on track? Are they learning? Are they?
It's a great question. One of the learnings from Circle is to go in the front door with regulators early and involve policy strategy as part of the overall product and business strategy. In the early days of Circle, we spent a lot of time educating regulators at the state and federal level and internationally who really didn't want to talk to us. And now, sort of.
Can't imagine why.
Flash forward 12 years, and I think stablecoins at least have achieved escape velocity with regard to the rest of crypto, and regulators are very savvy about this. And it's codified into law finally in the United States. So their approach to AI is certainly similar. There's a lot of time spent thinking through policy issues, working with others in the industry in a consortium type fashion in order to provide some education. Because you sort of hold two things in your mind at one time. I think regulators see a lot of the biggest companies in the world are putting a lot of investment in this and are all in on this, and yet anecdotally people don't have experience with agents. They're using chatbots that can't tell them how to make a brownie correctly. Right. Hallucinations. So both of those things are true at the same time, and how do they start to make sense of this?
Great. No, so congratulations on the recent round of funding. That's great news, and lots of amazing investors who are funded you. So what do they expect in terms of a product release for Catena? When's that going to happen? What's the first use case? How do you see that progressing?
Yeah, so we did a small seed round led by A16Z, which we announced in May. And what we have released so far are some foundational elements related to agent identity. If I'm interacting with Amazon, how do I know it's Amazon? If it's e-commerce, I know because we have SSL built into the browser. But in this new world, how does that work? And so we've released some patterns and some components to help with that, as well as just basic payment request and response and receipt mechanisms. So we've released that. We'll continue to iterate on it. And as we grow forward into later this year, early next, we'll be releasing commercial offerings on top of that. So we've been a little quiet about what that looks like first. But that's the plan. And the separation between the tech foundation and the licensed financial activity that sits atop it.
But is your first client of those, are they other app developers? Is it more other businesses that are looking to leverage your capabilities?
Yeah, so at the foundation, it's other developers who are building in this space. And at the financial activity layer, it's other partners. So we're doing a number of pilots. I don't love the term design partners, but we're working with a number of pilots with sort of strategic partners, and we'll continue rolling that forward with them. And they're all, the use cases are very much B2B or even B2B2B use cases at this point.
Great. And kind of I can see Synovus here, I see Truist is here, but what should banks think about you? Should they be afraid of you? Should they be figuring out ways to work with you? And are you doing some of that? Are you connecting with a lot of banks?
Yeah.
And
so we do leverage banking partners. We're not a bank. So we leverage banking partners for a number of things. Similar to stablecoin flows, we have FBO accounts that are custodied by banks. We work with them as a layer at the perimeter. And similarly with our AI, we can offer an AI layer that a lot of banks are missing while still relying on them in a way that generates deposits and flow for the bank. So we are a new kind of financial institution, but it's one that partners very deeply.
So they shouldn't be scared of you. They need to figure out how to work with you and partner with you.
Absolutely.
Great,
yes.
Great.
Yes.
Good. Well, thank you. Hopefully that gave you a kind of quick overview of what's going on in Sean's world, which is amazing. So thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Great.
Thanks. Good.